Hello guys, and welcome to a new Warno video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I'm super excited to share with you a first look at the 9th Infantry Division, which is a new American division available in the upcoming Northag expansion. That's right, we finally get to have a look at all of the Northag units. Let's jump on in. Just a note, what you see today is a work in progress and therefore subject to change, but I'm going to go through all of the units of course and we'll put together a quick deck. So the 9th Infantry, there is going to be a bunch of units that you've seen before because obviously it's one of the American divisions, but there is a lot of unique new models that have been added and some things that I'll point out as we go along. So starting here in the logistics, you can see the first of the new models, the M1008 CUCV supply. We're going to have technicals on the American side. With the 300 supply per unit, you get 20 on a card for 20 points each. 100 km/h road speed, so very, very fast resupply. Then we have the M35, of course, 90 km/h speed with the 750 supply per unit. Then we have the M577 CPC, standard armored command vehicle. We have the Black Hawk supply with the 1000 supply per unit at 45 points. The Black Hawk leader, which is 20% ECM with 8 health, so probably the better of all of the helicopter leaders in the game. Then there's access to the M1025 Humvee CVP, which is the classic sort of Humvee leader. And then finally, there's a choice if you want the field supply point. Moving on to the infantry, we start off with the National Guard M60 crew. There is a standard M60 crew. These can be brought in with super fast transport, the M1008 CUCV. And then there's also the 50 cal team, which can also be brought in with that fast transport. We have your standard military police patrol and your military police patrol with the M67 recoilless. These can be brought in with the Humvee, which has the military police trait. I actually really like having these sort of small vehicles with military police traits because it allows you to keep them near other units that maybe aren't necessarily needing the military police trait to get rid of the reservist, but instead just provide the suppression regeneration bonus, which does apply to like every unit. So it's really, really nice to have. Then we have our engineers. The engineers can be brought in the M1038 Humvee, or they can be brought in the new M998T, which is another interesting vehicle. Does have a 50 cal on it. So yeah, the engineers, you've got your standard engineers with the satchel, you've got your engineers with the flash launcher, and you've of course got the engineers with the Dragon. This is just the Dragon 1. Then there's the 40mm Mark 19 grenade launcher, which comes in with the super fast transport. Then we have ourselves the National Guard rifle leader, which is M16's M60 in a law. Can come in with the National Guard M13A1 as well. You got the National Guard rifle with the law. That's 7 M16s, 2 M60s in the law. And then there's the National Guard rifles here, which have the M16s, M60 and Dragon 2. So the fact that these get a Dragon 2 is actually quite nice. So this is a relatively decent unit, and bringing them in with an armored transport is probably not necessarily a bad idea. Then we have the light rifles. So the light rifle leader here is a 6-man squad. He has 6 M16s. We've got the 1 M72 law and then the smoke grenade. The smoke grenades on infantry leaders is really, really nice. So definitely one to look out for. Can be brought in with the M998T, the new vehicle here. Can have a grenade launcher on it as well, which is cool. Also can be brought in with the Black Hawk. And then we have the rest of the light rifles, which is a 10-man squad. Very nice squad actually. 7 M16s, 2 M249s, and an M21 marksman rifle with the M72 there. So pretty decent at engaging at range. Like at that 850 meters, all of these weapons can fire, making them very good at range. Not going to be good close up though. They don't really get any traits. So they're not going to have shock. They're not going to have like the mechanized infantry trait. They're not going to have all these things that might improve them in battle. But you can, of course, accompany them with military police to increase their suppression regeneration. We have the National Guard TOW, which is just the standard TOW. And then there's the ITOW, which is not National Guard. And then we have the TOW 2. And this is the TOW 2A. So just your standard. Not top attack or anything, just standard. 2,625 meter range, 65% accuracy. Finally, there's light rifles with Dragon. This is actually another nice squad. You're going to be using quite a lot of light rifles, I imagine, in this division to fill up your infantry tab. 7 M16s, 3 M249s, and the Dragon 2. So again, really decent at range, but going to struggle closer up. But that's where your engineers will come in handy with their shock trait. Right, moving on to the artillery. M107 mortar team. They can be brought in with a Chinook if you wanted to. Probably not advised. There's the M125, which carries the 81mm mortar, and the M106A2 mortar, which comes with the 107mm. Then we have the M102 105, standard sort of mid-range towed artillery. And then we have another really interesting unit here, the M60A1 AVLM. So it's like a pattern hull with a mine clearer on it. Really interesting that they started to add more of these kinds of units to the game. But yeah, the Miklik available now to absolutely demolish your enemy infantry at range. I say at range, I mean 1,750 meters is not very far. So it's going to be one of those things that you probably take into a forest with you or hide it behind like a building and fire over the top. Then we have the towed 155mm, the M198. And then we also have the M198 CLGP, which is guided indirect. So corrected shots are extremely accurate. That's basically how that works. And yeah, going to be pretty strong, honestly. Then we have the M109s, National Guard M109s, and there's also access to M270 cluster as well. So a decent artillery tab. These units you can certainly use to snipe. You're only going to get one per card, but if you're hitting directly, you might not need that many of them. And also the nice thing about these, because they're going to be hitting like directly on the enemy units, you don't need to like micro them too much if there's only 2 of them, right? So you've got 2, they're hitting the target, they're doing loads of damage, they get the kill, and then you just move them quickly by controlling all of them at once and then just right-clicking on the transport, which will load both of them. All right, moving on to the tank tab. Tank tab's really interesting here. We have the TOW 2 in the M150A2. So decent HGM, honestly, for 65 points. You've got the Humvee TOW, which also gets a TOW 2, but much faster. 100 km/h road speed. Also gets good stealth, which is pretty huge. And there's also the M1008, and this has like ground-based Hellfires, basically, which is really, really good. So 24 penetration at 2,800 meter range with 70% accuracy. Absolutely huge. And then we have our M60s. So the M60 Leader, the M60 A3 TTS, and the standard one with the... Bear in mind, all of these have 2,275 meter range, so they're still pretty good. Side shots are the way you're going to want to go against like heavier targets, but for taking out sort of enemy medium armor and light vehicles, these are going to be really, really good. 60% accuracy is still really good, and with a little bit of veterancy, that goes a long way. And then we have the standard M60. This is the National Guard one, and this is the standard one, which is... You can kind of see the difference due to the camo, but otherwise just in the name with the National Guard there. All right, moving on to the recon. We have ourselves, first of all, the National Guard Scouts, which can be brought in with the Recon Jeep. And there is the Exceptional Optics Humvee. For 20 points, this is really good. It'd be nice if it had sort of smoke launchers on it, but it doesn't. But for 20 points, with good stealth, having an Exceptional Optics unit, which is really, really fast like this, is actually very nice. Then we've got the normal scouts as opposed to the National Guard scouts. These can be brought in with Humvees, which also have good optics and stealth. They can have the 50 cal or the grenade launcher setup. Then we have the Fold. So these guys are equipped with GSR. So when they're still, they get extra optics. So their optics goes from very good to exceptional, which is really nice. And they can also be brought in with the M1040 FAV, which is a really cool buggy. If you've played Battlefield 2, it's probably the first time that I ever saw one of these in a video game. Very cool indeed. Then we got the Sui, which are the SIGINT unit. So SIGINT, I personally think SIGINT's pretty strong, just because if you triangulate with the units, you can really figure out where stuff is without having to actually get direct eyes on it, and then you just plaster that area with artillery. So I'd actually genuinely think these are really good, probably better in team games than 1v1. I thought originally it would be the opposite way around, but I think in team games you've got more time to use them, whereas in 1v1 you might not have the value there out of them. Regardless, really interesting squad. Then we have the sniper. Now these come with a Barrett, so they have an M82. You can see it there. Very, very nice. 1,400 meter range, 60% accuracy due to their veterancy. It's got decent HE. I'm not sure if this can like significantly damage vehicles, but it'd be interesting to see how that works out. I haven't had much chance to test it. But they can be brought in with the M1040, which is this little buggy again, the FAV. And that does have some optics of its own. Good optics. Then we got the recon variants of all of these. So all of the FAVs. So this is the 50 cal on top with the M60 in there. You've got the grenade launcher on top with the M60, and then there's also the tow launcher one, which is very nice indeed. Still got that good stealth, got very good optics, road speed of 120 kilometers per hour. These things are super fast. Really, really scary unit to bump into. 4 health though will make them pretty easy to clean up, but still something to certainly worry about. And then we have our classic OH-58 Scout with the very good optics. There's the JOH-58 as well, which has a slightly different canopy there at the front, which is interesting. Probably to make room for this 20mm. And then there's the Kiowa with the rockets, which has the exceptional optics. Finally, there is a UAV in this division, which is cool. UAVs have really started to make their place in Warno, and this is the American one, the Aquila. Very nice. Moving on, we have AA, so National Guard Stingers. The National Guard Stingers, only 45% accuracy on the Stinger Basic there, with the M13 that they can bring in as well if they don't want. If not, then just bring them in the Jeep. Absolutely fine. There's the Vulcan 20mm, the Toad Vulcan available. Standard Stinger team, which does get the 55% accuracy, which is probably more where you're going to want to go with your Stinger allocation. Can be brought in with that really fast transport as well. Then we have the Chaparral, the Toad Chaparral, which still has the same statistics, so 3,525 meter range versus aircraft and 55% accuracy. But you are going to want to make sure these move after they fire, because they will get killed off by artillery pretty easily. And then we have a double missile pod Avenger, so plenty of stingers to blast at your enemy. 115 points apiece. Moving on, we have ourselves the helicopters. So only access to 2 types of helicopters in this division. The H1F Hog, which comes with the multiple Hydra loadout, so 4 rocket pods. And then the H1F Cobra, which comes with the ITOs. Not a huge fan of the ITO Cobra, but just because it kind of has to sit stationary for way too long to guide that missile in. And finally, the AirTab. So the AirTab is just F-16s with a couple of Eagles, basically. The first one here is the air-to-air F-16, which comes loaded with 6 AIM-9s. So very, very good at taking down helicopters and also, if it can get close enough, aircraft. Then the F-16, which comes with a 6 227 kilogram bomb loadout, which is okay for maybe doing some damage to infantry, but not going to do much damage to much else. Still gets the 2 infrared AIM-9s. There's the cluster variant, which has actually got some pretty decent cluster loadout. Like, that's 8 Rockeyes. So very, very nice indeed. Solid loadout on the wings there. Then we have the HE2 variant of the F-16, which comes with 12 227 kilogram bombs. So we're starting to look at much more decent payloads here on the F-16. And we also have the F-16 Seed, which comes with the good old AGM-88 harm. So this is a 5,450 meter range with 65% accuracy. Pretty good seed aircraft, especially considering how good the F-16 is with the 1,100 km/h speed, plus decent air optics, plus decent agility, plus decent ECM. Yeah, really nice indeed. And then there's the FA-16, which comes with Maverick missiles. So solid air-to-ground platform, 3,150 meter range, 60% accuracy. And also the Pave Claw, which is, I assume, a ground-based Gatling. Yeah, so this is Gatling here. 30mm cannon on the bottom of it. Interesting. I'm curious how much damage that's actually going to do. I assume it would be very similar to the A10. Very, very cool air-to-ground F-16. Finally, you do get access to 2 cards of the F-15. These aren't the good ones that come with AMRAAMs, unfortunately. They are the ones that come with Sparrows. So Sparrow is still okay at 50% accuracy, 7,775 meter range. But honestly, will often make you wish you had AMRAAMs. And there you have it. That's the entire deck. So let's try and throw something together quickly here. I think a field supply point is probably needed because your artillery is decent. And then other than that, I'm thinking probably M35 supply UH-60A. As much as I'd love to bring these, I'm not a huge fan of like having that many. Overall, this is like not good value for money. So we'll leave it at that. We'll maybe bring in the Humvee CP there as well. For infantry, definitely bringing in your light rifles and your light rifle leader most likely. So I'm thinking we maybe bring in one with grenade launchers, one with 50 cals, and then these can all just come in without they're getting close. So let's do it like so. I might upvet a couple of those, and we'll of course do the leader. Then we'll need engineers. This grenade launcher is probably worth bringing. Yeah, definitely engineers with flash launchers. And then standard engineers as well. I'm not going to bring them in the 50 cal vehicle. Just because this 50 cal vehicle doesn't get any armor. And then you're probably looking at something like military police. I think military police patrol is probably the best way to go. And you still get that military police Humvee, so you can have plenty of military police traits spread around. Definitely going to be popping these in just to make sure that I can try out how good this corrected shot is. We'll put some cluster in there as well. And I'm almost tempted to bring in these, but it takes up a slot in your artillery tab, which is not really ideal. Might throw them in for the time being. Okay, in the tank tab, we're definitely taking these. We will take another M60 leader with M60 non-National Guard variants. I'll definitely take the Humvees. Humvee 202s are really good. Right, let's move on to the recon. We'll bring up the drone, the UAV. Definitely going to use this TOW2. Not sure about the other two, whether or not they would actually be worth bringing. They are super fast. But I think what we'll do is we'll take the Sigint. We'll take the Barrett. And then I'm thinking also some exceptional optics Humvees there. Now for AA, we're definitely going to be doing Stingers. I am going to bring up the Chaparrals. I'm even going to upbed them. We'll upbed them once. Because I'll bring in Avengers as well. For the helicopters, we'll bring in the Hogs. And for aircraft, probably do Eagle. We want Seed. We want the ground attack. And maybe the cluster ones. Actually, no, we'll try out the higher bomb payload, the 227 kilogram bomb. I think the cluster one is probably going to be the one you want to take, realistically. Because the main thing that's the stick is going to struggle against is going to be like heavy tanks. So you're probably going to want the cluster and the ground attack with the Mavericks rather than the bombing variant. But that is about it, I think. Let's just double check here. So if I take out that, that might save us some points. That would give us 3 points to work with. Then we'll do second card of Humvee Toes. And I'm thinking more recon. Maybe exceptional optics helicopters. Okay, let's go ahead and call that the 9th Infantry. I don't think this is going to be, by any means, a completed deck. I'm definitely going to have to mess around with this to make sure that I have it well balanced. But overall, seems pretty strong. I mean, you got a decent infantry tab. You've got strong artillery. Your tank tab's lacking, but you've got really good HHMs. The recon's great. The AA is absolutely fine. Helicopter's obviously a bit lacking. And the air's good. So I think overall this is a very, very strong American division. That could probably get quite a lot of gameplay in 1v1 even. I can imagine like the light rifle value plus like all of the HGM value out of this division being quite a decent 1v1 division. But it's still going to be really fun to play in team games, especially with the focus on like artillery and aircraft maybe. Yeah, really, really fun division. I'm really looking forward to giving it a good go in like a big 10v10 or something. See what value we can get out of the different units. But that is it for now. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this first look at the 9th Infantry Division. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.